how do you know how to actually pick your niche? And then once you actually know, how do you know how narrow or how far to go down that niche or how broad to go? So that's exactly what we're going to be covering in today's training on how do you pick your niche. And I also want to be covering the natural evolution of niching down and the biggest mistake that I see people make when they start to pick their niche. So without wasting any time, let's just jump right into it. So the first thing I want to cover is the natural evolution. So you pick a niche that's so narrow that it's almost impossible not to get clients. You dominate that niche, and then the next and the last part would be that's where you start to broaden up over time. So I'll give you an example. When I started to run my content agency, I said that I was going to work with business owners. That is way too broad. So I decided that I need to pick a target. When I picked the target, I said I'm going to go after coaches, consultants, and course creators. That's much better, but that's still a little too broad. I can go even deeper. So I made one more move, and I decided to only really work with people within real estate. That included realtors, brokers, investors, and coaches. Now, that is a lot more narrow than coaches, consultants, and course creators. So when I switched to real estate, I was actually able to work better on my messaging and really understand what they needed as far as content so that I can help them build a personal brand on social media. Eventually, I broadened up and I started to work with other business owners that were in the finance space and trucking space. Now, the same thing is going to happen with my consulting agency. I'm catering to real estate, but over time, I'm going to broaden up and I'm going to work with other business owners. I recently had a bookkeeper that reached out to me after going through all my content, which is catered to real estate, and she wanted to sign on because she saw that what I consult on can be used in any industry because of the same principles that apply with real estate can apply in any business. But again, I didn't market to them. They just saw the content and the messaging and knew it was still a good product. Another example is Alex Hormozi. He started off in the gyms, then he started coaching gyms, and then he started coaching e-learning businesses, and now he scales pretty much any type of business with his company, acquisition.com. Another example is The Rock. He started off wrestling, and he played in that world for quite a while. Eventually, he got into acting, and even within acting, he was doing a lot of the same roles in the very beginning. Then he got deeper into Hollywood, and eventually, he started getting different roles, right? Bigger roles. Now, if you look at The Rock today, he's the owner of the XFL league. He has his own tequila, and he might possibly run for president. That all started with him from wrestling, and then he started to move into other things until eventually his brand is big enough. The point of these examples is to show how we all start narrow, and eventually we broaden out. And you can start to do multiple things at that point. But you have to dominate something first. This is the natural evolution that they all went through, and the natural evolution that I'm also headed in, and you should be headed in as well. Now, the biggest mistake that I see people make when they start picking a niche, they go way too broad in the beginning. And a big part of that is because you start to look at other successful people, and then you want to copy exactly what they're doing so that you can reach the same kind of success. But you don't have the same credibility, you don't have the brand, and you don't have the awareness that those people have, at least not yet. So you, just like myself, we need to niche down, narrow down, and then eventually we get to broaden out. I want you to think of the most specific person that you can help within your industry. So even now with my consulting agency, I'm working with realtors, investors, coaches, but when you see my ads, I'm not speaking to people that are just starting off. I target specifically realtors, investors, and coaches who've already proven that they can do the work or they have a business and they're already closing deals and getting new students into their program. I attach myself to their business as the marketing arm, and then I help them to blow up their marketing so they can be even more successful. But I don't teach real estate. So if you're just starting out, and you don't already have your business making money, it's very hard for me to help you out. Now, that doesn't mean that in all of my content, I only speak to these people. 20% of my content is speaking directly to my target, which is realtors, investors, and coaches. 80% is more broad in tactics that can help any business, which is why, again, the bookkeeper had reached out to me and wanted to work together. But again, in my ads, I'm 100% targeting my niche and nobody else. So what goes into deciding your niche? The first question is, who can we serve the best? So think about the current skill sets that you have now and the problems that you can solve. Who can you best help out the most with those two things? The second part is, can they actually afford it? Whether it's a service or a product, can those people that you're targeting actually afford what you're offering? So let me give you some examples here. With realtors, right? If you're targeting first-time home buyers, many of them are not ready to buy, and so before they go into the process, they might have to fix their credit, they might have to pay down debt, they might have to save up for the down payment, so they can't afford to buy a home and pay your percentage, at least not now. Eventually, maybe 6 to 12 months down the road, they're able to do that. So when you're picking your target, you have to think about things like this. So maybe first-time home buyers isn't the best choice for you. With investors, whether you decide to flip or rent, you want to be specific about where you want to buy your properties. So you might want to flip in areas where your home is going to sell the fastest. That necessarily won't be in a rough neighborhood or in the most expensive. You got to find that sweet spot. The same goes for rentals. If you want to buy a rental where it's going to rent out the fastest and possibly appreciate the fastest, the more specific you are, the easier it's actually going to get to find these properties. And if you're dealing with wholesalers, it's going to make it easier for them to know exactly what you want to bring you the right properties and not waste your time. Now, on the flip side of that, you might only actually want, let's say, Section 8 because you want that guaranteed government money. And that's perfectly fine. That's more specific, and that's the point that I'm trying to get at. We have to get specific, and we have to realize who can actually afford what we're offering. Now, the same goes with coaches. If you have a coaching program that's $5,000, whether that's monthly or maybe for the whole program, maybe you don't need to be targeting new people like new realtors, investors, or wholesalers. You have to think about what that person can actually afford. If they're just starting off, $5,000 is a lot of money. And I'm not saying it's not impossible to sell people that are just starting off or that don't have money, but if you really want to make your life easier and you want to get sales faster, you want to try to find the people who already have the money and then start to qualify them. Now, the last question you need to ask yourself is, what is the niche that you're actually passionate about helping? You're going to need to make content over the next 3 to 5 years. So, who would you actually like to speak to for free if you had to do it? Now, I love marketing and I love helping people. I chose real estate because I was already helping people in real estate build their brands, create the content, and shoot the content within that real estate industry when I had my videography business and the short form content agency. I really understand the language, I understand the problems, and in my current skill set and the problems that I can solve, real estate falls right into it perfectly. And I'll be honest, I'm not saying that I'm super passionate about real estate, but I do understand how important it is, how much of a need it is, and how real estate can actually change people's lives, both retail and investor. And I want to help people that are helping other people within the industry. It becomes a huge chain reaction. My passion right now is in helping people with exactly what I know. And over time, I realized my purpose is to teach people and lead people with the information that I already have, that I know that can help the situation in the same way that it's changed mine. So even if we're not getting paid for it, I can talk about creating content and client acquisitions forever because I love the marketing side of things. So wrapping this up here, those are the 3 biggest things that you need to think about when you're niching down. These 3 should help you decide which niche to go in and figure out if you should broaden up or go more narrow and find a smaller group to serve. But if your business is doing between $5 and $10K a month, it's probably going to be better to go very narrow and then build it out from there. Now, if you're making $20 to $30K per month and you're comfortable with your process and the results that you've been getting, then you can probably start to broaden out and serve more people. So what I want you to do is sit down either today or this weekend and take a moment to really answer those 3 questions and figure out exactly where you land. This is going to help you out a lot in creating that foundation so that you can continue to build on top of. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and also show love on my Instagram. Go ahead and follow me over there. Here's my @ Andres Hernandez. And thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.